Hello, my name's David and I'm an alcoholic. I'm over 2 years sober. I got sober when I was 23. I'm 25 now. I live in London, and I want to talk to you today about AA and the things which AA has brought me that I'm really, really grateful for. So, initially, when I came in, obviously, I had this terrible alcohol problem. But underneath all that, or as well as all that, I had a lot of issues with very low self-esteem, a lot of self-hatred, quite a lot of suicidal ideation, and um, I knew that AA stop would stop me from drinking if I kept going. If I kept going every day, if I got a sponsor, if I called people, if I did the AA stuff, I knew that I had this faith that it would work. But what I didn't realize was that AA would bring about this profound change in my personality where I'd be able to put aside that self-hatred and that low self-esteem which had plagued me, all my life. And for a while it didn't, almost because I didn't let it. Right, when I came in, I went to meetings, I would compare myself to people in those meetings, and I would find myself to be less than. I would find them to be cooler than me. I would find them to have more interesting lives than me, to be older than me, which usually was true, but also doesn't really mean anything. I was convinced that I would never have a romantic relationship, and which was really paradoxical because, like, I came into AA and then got into a romantic relationship whilst being convinced that I would never be able to kind of be with anyone, which is really weird. But all of these kinds of, like, this terrible negative way that I saw myself, I kind of held on to, because I didn't I didn't really want to sort of see myself as, like, I didn't really want to meet myself. I used to say that the real David was somebody. It's like somebody you've heard about, who your mates know, who you don't really want to run into down the pub. Just the kind of guy you only hear bad stuff about. And actually, very slowly, very gently, with the help of the steps and my sponsor and lots of sort of social experiences in the fellowship, that's, going out for food with people after meetings, hanging out with other AAs. I met my best friend in AA, and we went on these crazy wild holidays together, and we've done conventions together, and I've, become close got close to so many people and allowed so many people to see all these different sides of me, that I've been able to let myself see those sides of me too, right? And actually, I've been able to sort of put down that self-hatred and that negative view of myself, and instead kind of pick up a much more neutral, much more accepting way of looking at myself, and a much more neutral and much more accepting way of looking at other people. I don't I'm not nearly as intolerant of others, as I used to be, whether that's at work or just people I know or whatever, and I'm not as intolerant of myself. And I really, really, really didn't ever think that I would get to where I am, where I don't need to, when I was drinking, I would use alcohol, but I would also use different jobs, different, winning different competitions, women, being in certain places, being with certain people, etc., to kind of feel better about myself. But what's happened in sobriety is, actually, I don't need those things for that, I'm not desperately using them to try and sort of fill this void within me. And actually, I can instead appreciate those things for what they are, which are nice and interesting things. And it's great to have friends, and it's great to be, I was with a couple of fellows the other week, in like a rooftop bar in Hackney, which is a sort of cool neighborhood in London. And, I'm sort of eating pizza and in my nice new clothes and everything. And it's like I can appreciate that moment for what it is, which is just like a cool moment in my life. But like I don't need it to sort of, I'm not, I can, it's almost like I can see that like my soul, the real me, is kind of separate from that and not kind of attached to that. And if I'd have heard this recording when I first got sober, I wouldn't have believed it either. I would have thought that the guy on the other end of the microphone had something that I didn't have, and that's what enabled him to have this perspective and to be able to let these things go. But that isn't true. I don't have anything that you don't have, or if I do, it's not important, because I'm just a human being just like you, and I've been able to get and stay sober for over 2 years, sober since my first meeting with AA, even though I'm young and stupid and don't always do it right. It still works for me, and that's why I keep doing it.